Good evening, everybody. How are we this evening? Hope you're doing well. Our show is a little different, although it'll be quite similar, but tonight we are going to be we're going to be showing a pre-recording that we did with a wonderful friend of ours, Ainslie Speedie, and we were originally set to have this released for the Play to Heal the World Festival. But Ainslie actually was sick on the day that she came to do her Zoom shop. So we managed to catch up with her, and we're going to show that full interview in just a few minutes here on the Conscious Collective. I have been, this is day one for me. I've been at a wilderness first aid training today, which has been really interesting. And I'll be continuing tomorrow. It's a little bit different. There's something in me that just loves to go deep into the forest, into the wild, and safety comes first. So it's been really enlightening. I just wanted to remind everyone watching that you can now watch you can now listen to all our weekly live shows on our podcast. So on Spotify and iTunes. You can just search Conscious Collective Education, and there's already a back catalog of amazing podcasts that you can listen to, and it's really so good. Literally on your way to work, if you need some inspiration, put one of those podcasts on. It just brings all that heart connected feelings back. Or if you're going for a walk, it's such a great way to consume content. So we record all these weekly live shows and then we release them as a podcast. It's a really good way to listen to it. So I want to encourage you to do that. And the second thing is about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we announced that we have partnered up with some of our absolute favorite people in early childhood education. In Aotearoa, we've got Penny Brownlee and Helen Armstrong and Kimberly, Crisp and Lisa McKim and Philippa Hope and a whole bunch of others, Anya, and also recently have joined us Tanya Valentin, and we're forming something called the Heart Tribe. And the Heart Tribe is a lot of things, but one of the major things is it's a vehicle for transformation for us to go on a beautiful journey together and to connect deeply with a community of like-minded people and explore both transformation of the heart and also the pedagogy of the heart and how that works. So if you want to be one of our founding members, we still have a few spots left. Just follow learn.consciouscollective.nz bundles Heart Tribe, and you will be able to become part of that journey. And if you email me, rick@consciouscollective.nz, I will give you a special 2-month free trial to come and join us. So just email me and I'll send you that voucher code. Okay, that's it. Without further ado, I will try and get the technology working and put on this beautiful interview that we did with Ainslie. I hope that you guys enjoy. And okay, recording. Okay. Ainslie, so good to connect with you. We were going to do a live Zoom session during the Play to Heal Festival, but didn't quite work out. So we've got this amazing opportunity to connect and talk a little bit about your journey, about yoga and your involvement with it. We've called the session, I think, I Am Yoga, which is your brand. Sorry, and kind of talked about an embodied guide to healing. And so really interested to get to know your story and how you are where you are today and what your fascination is with the practice of yoga.
Can't wait to hear your story.
So why don't we begin maybe just with telling us a little bit about that. Tell us about how you've gotten to be where you are, or what you're doing now and how you got there.
Cool. Well, thanks, guys. It's really, truly an honor to be here and sharing my story, sharing my love for yoga with you and with all of your amazing community. I'm gutted I missed the Play to Heal the World Festival, but hopefully we can make up for it here. So where do we start? So where was I starting? How I got
Maybe
into...
just share what you're doing at the moment, and just to give us a bit of context.
Sure. So what I'm doing at the moment, I am, I used to, pre-lockdown, I was teaching lots of yoga classes around the King Country and the Waikato. So in 2018, I went to India and did my teacher training over there. And then my main mission when I came back from India was to share yoga with as many people as I could, and especially the people that I had kind of grown up with and knew would really benefit from yoga. And so that was the rural communities. So I was traveling a lot around Pu'u, Tikawiti, Otrahonga, Hamilton, lots of places around there. And the lockdown for me has actually meant that bringing all of those communities together online. So it's been a real blessing for me and my business. As much as I love traveling, it's been nice to actually stay grounded and be on the farm and jump online when I'm teaching. It's obviously not the same as teaching in person, and I totally miss that so much. But it's been incredible for me to access people, kind of when I talked about how I wanted to make yoga accessible for everyone. This has made it even more accessible.
Yeah, you certainly helped me, because Ainslie is my yoga teacher and she's just so amazing. But that's one thing that I hugely missed, was that connection with my body in this lockdown, and not having someone to guide me that I'm really connected to. So being part of your community was super helpful for me, and to see you on the other side of a screen just running me through a class, I'm super grateful for that.
Yeah, and it's been interesting because this time round I have been doing a few pre-recorded classes, and the vibe is so different for me. Like, I'm so grateful for Zoom, because you guys probably found this with your festival as well. Like, I just love teaching a live class via Zoom. It's like I'm doing exactly the same thing, and I'm not, like, I can kind of see those little tiny squares of bodies, but it's total, like, I love that vibe compared to just recording a class and posting it on the chat. I don't know, it's just that energy exchange is so incredible.
I completely agree.
So what led you to want to go to India, do your yoga teacher training? Have you always been interested in yoga, or did it kind of come to serve you during a time of your life?
Yeah, so I have quite an interesting story with how I came to yoga. It all started, I guess, a long time ago. I went to, when I started university, I started getting into the gym, which was really good for my mental health. It was my kind of like, adrenaline and endorphin medicine, I guess. And it actually led me down a really unhealthy pathway. I started, I think I just got too obsessed with the whole exercise, and I started running and just doing really high intensity stuff, which is really great for some people. But I think women who are certainly more sensitive to stress and anxiety, which I was under so much stress, anxiety, so much kind of mental stuff going on in my mind. But my way of dealing with that was running, or doing, or really amping up my body to feel good for a little while. But little did I know at the time was I was stressing my whole body out. So our body perceives stress, no matter what stress that is, it interprets it exactly the same way. So if I was really stressed and I had an assignment that I was doing at university, or this was kind of continuing on when I went out into the workforce as well. I was fully just doing way too much. So stressing myself out mentally through work, through assignments, but then my way of releasing was stressing my body physically even more, by running, by doing all this high intensity stuff. So I think it was the second year of university. Yeah, coming into the third year of my university, all of a sudden my period stopped. And that was a bit of a shock to me. And I got investigations because I was like, what is happening to my body? And they're like, oh, it's okay. It's probably just like a stress thing. And no, actually they diagnosed me with polycystic ovaries, which is super common and whatnot. So yeah, so I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. Yeah, I saw lots and lots of people to try and get help because I must have known that something wasn't quite right, but I didn't really look into what I was doing in my life. So I kind of kept looking outside of myself. What pill can I take? What I don't know, what other things can I do to heal, without actually doing the hard stuff, which is really diving deep into myself.
Was there a treatment plan for that they put you on, or were they just like, okay, this is just what's happened, that's it, on your merry way?
So that was a very frustrating journey with the health system. They just told me that they just said, when you it's going to affect your fertility, and whenever you want to start having children, just come and see us and we'll put you on those medications and drugs and whatever to stimulate ovulation and stuff like that. So for years I thought I was okay, but I think deep down I thought something was probably not wrong, not right. So during this whole time I had lost probably about 15 kilos. And I've never been a big person as it is. And I think the lightest I got was like 49 kilos. So I had no body fat. I was stressed. I was just, so like perfect opportunity. Obviously when your body doesn't have enough energy to produce sex hormones, well, it doesn't have enough energy full stop, let alone your sex hormones, which are pretty lower down on the priority list. So I always say to people now, like, if you have a regular period, that is a sign that you are healthy. Like that is your optimal health. And so many of us bag our periods like it's the worst time of the month and we hate them and we just want to go on the pill or the jab to get rid of them. But it is such a beautiful process, and for 8 years, I didn't get anything. Nothing. So my brain had shut down the communication from my hypothalamus to my ovaries. And it wasn't until it was about 7 years into my journey that I connected with a beautiful lady called Kate Callahan, and she is on Instagram, she's the holistic nutritionist. So her story was very similar to mine. She was a bodybuilder. Oh, no, she wasn't. She was a personal trainer doing like 16 hours of training and body group fitness classes a week. And had next to none body fat, no periods, came off the pill, still no periods. Wanted to have children, and healed herself by eating more, stressing less, or managing stress, and doing no exercise, starting yoga, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where my journey started. And it was interesting that when I went to India in 2018 was the time that I kind of met Kate. and we were going through lots of blood work and seeing all my blood tests, and I had like no sex hormones in my body, like estrogen was just, there was nothing, which is actually super important for your bone density and bone health. So we, through investigations, we found that I had this thing called hypothalamic amenorrhea, which is much more common than we think. And since sharing my story on Instagram, I've had multiple ladies, women, say that they're going through the same thing and the health system doesn't know. And that was my battle for years. No one knew about it, and I had no idea what to do until I found Kate, and I went through a course with her, and within 7 months I got my period back.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so the thing, I guess, for me was, there's so much I can kind of dive into from here. It was a big journey for me to be that person that was always doing.
Yeah.
I literally couldn't even take a bath. I couldn't read a book. My mind was just like active. I couldn't sleep. I was anxious. I was depressed. I was like, all the things that indicates your sympathetic nervous system is just in overdrive. Yeah. So I was, like, remember in the old Les Mills body balance classes, I think I used to do like one of them a week just for kind of recovery. And the teacher at the end used to say, if you have optional time, like stay here to lie down in your shavasana.
Yeah.
And I would be always the person that walked out of the room because I just couldn't lie there. I didn't have the time.
Just couldn't sit there.
Yeah.
Got another exercise to do.
Yeah, I've got to run home or something like that. So that was interesting. And then when I started living in Taupo, when I was working, and I went, I was seeing an integrative doctor in Hamilton, and he diagnosed me with like adrenal fatigue and candida and all this stuff like that had happened from stress. So all my body was just producing stress hormones instead of sex hormones. So and both of them are important, but if we have too many stress hormones, then our brain's like, no, reproduction is just not a priority right now. So I started, he said, you're gonna have to quit all exercise, all intense exercise, just do some gentle walking and yoga. And I was like, yoga? Really?
How did your mind switch with that? Did a lot of resistance come up when he said that?
So much resistance. Like,
I can imagine.
Yeah. And like looking back on it now, it was this, I was obsessing over what I ate, over how I exercised, how I spent my time, because maybe I was running away from emotions that I hadn't healed from. Maybe I had these deep set beliefs that I wasn't good enough, that I need to be skinny to be loved, all this stuff. It's actually a thing called orthorexia.
Yeah.
It is when it is a disordered way of eating where most of it for me was control. So I felt like if I could control how I ate, how I exercised, I was in control of my whole life.
That's way too relatable, my friend. Yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate with that as well.
Totally. And and like now that I've been on my journey, I see it like way too often.
Yeah.
And so that's why I actually like to talk about this, because I wish I'd known what I'd known back in the days.
It's important to speak these things out, because people get stuck in their own bodies and they are caught up in this thought process, and they just think something is deeply wrong with them. And it's until we speak them out and share our stories that we think, oh, okay, other people are feeling this way. And it's safe. It's okay to talk about our issues or what's going on within.
Definitely. Yeah. And yeah, so it was a very deep healing journey for me. Starting with yoga, I remember my first yoga class being like, what is this? And it was like the most intense, not intense, but the weirdest yoga class you could start with. It was Ashtanga Mysore. So it was like everyone is doing their own practice and the teacher is walking around just helping you.
You're brave.
Like, so I do burpees, is that what yoga is, or is it?
Yeah. So I didn't even have any cues from a yoga instructor or anything.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing? Somehow I got led back to it, and because it was a way of moving my body that I was the only way that I was allowed to do, so I was kind of forced into it. And then as I kept practicing and as my teacher kept starting to kind of talk about the philosophy and the history and why we do things, I got fascinated. So my brain started to get a little bit more interested in kind of what yoga actually is. And so that kind of, that sparked my interest, and just being at like that empowering feeling of being able to, even I remember my first headstand and being like, whoa, this is amazing, going upside down. Like, how can my body do that? And it's just such it's so amazing, and like being in your body. And I think that was the magic, and I'm still trying to figure out, and I think we all are, about how is yoga so good. And I think it is just something magical about joining your body movements with your breath, and staying aware of your breath the whole time, like letting that be your guide. Because probably when I was running and exercising, it was just like heart beating, heart rate so fast, breathing so fast. Obviously you're still a little bit aware, but like being aware of slowing your breath down, like that's just mind-blowing.
Tuning into that nervous system and telling yourself that in that moment that you are super safe. That's been a big thing for me, is getting back into my body and moving it in a way of fluidity, like a child again. So I'm back in my child mind where it's just magical. And that's how I feel when I do yoga. It's super healing for me as well.
I love that. And like me and you, Maria, we always have these chats after yoga. Like, you're like, thank you, like give me this massive hug, and you just like your whole being changes when you practice yoga. I noticed that from when you walk in the door, from when you walk out the door, you're just like, wow.
It's like I'm recentered again. It's like I'm reset. I'm feeling safe in myself and just calm and healed. And I've had that with someone that shared such beautiful space for me. And I'm always so grateful.
But I think too, it's like releasing that unnecessary tension, that when we're not aware of our bodies or our breath, like things start to get tense. From the way that we work, like from the way that we pick up our kids, from the way that we hunch over at our desks all day. And then when you actually just start to sit or lie there, and you're like, oh yeah, that's right, far out, or I can't even move my thoracic spine because I haven't moved it for years because I don't rotate, or, just things like that. And like waking up the body and moving the body in ways like, when you first start yoga, it is hard. And I remember my body has never been so sore. When my first week that I think I did like a beginner's course at that studio in Taupo. And I was like, what? I thought I was fit. I thought I was strong. But this is it's a total different feeling in your body. And it's because we're working and we're waking up those different muscles A lot of the yoga that I practice is we work a lot on the intrinsic muscles, so like the deeper muscles that are quite subtle movements, but are super important, because it is often those muscles that go to sleep when we don't move them, or when we don't use them enough. So the mobility, and that's the part of the mobility that's important with our yoga practice as well. But yeah, that's just one part. The physical aspect is just one part, but I think getting into your body and actually being guided to notice what's coming up for you, even those stories that we tell ourselves, you know, I can't do this, or the fear that comes up. It's super interesting to notice all those things.
What about the yoga philosophy? You said you became quite intrigued, and your mind kind of got a little bit more curious about this, the way that your teacher was speaking. What about that intrigued you, and what have you learned?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So I'm just about to do my advanced philosophy training in June, which I'm really, really excited. So maybe we can have another chat after that. I still feel like I'm in like, so I guess, yeah, in my 200 hours, I did learn a lot about the philosophy of yoga. And I actually, in India, we had this man come, and he was like full Indian, and his name was Bhaskar Ji, and he had been raised in like a yogic life, and so he would come. I wish I had a photo of him, but he would like come to our yogashala in Himalayas, and he was like dressed in his white robe, and he'd walk in and say namaste, and then he'd teach us a prayer and a chant, and just chat away all about the philosophy. And most of it was over our head, because a lot of it is in Sanskrit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was really special for me, going to India and actually learning the whole history and being where yoga was born. That was amazing. So the yoga philosophy is, and most people think that yoga is like just stretching your body, but actually there's 8 limbs of yoga. Yoga is almost like a way of life. It's not a religion. It's a lifestyle, and it is definitely like, if I'm just trying to think, if I could think of a definition, is like yoga means the union in Sanskrit. So the union of the body, mind, and the breath. And what else am I going to say? Yeah, so the 8 limbs of yoga, we've got yamas, which is how we relate to ourselves. We've got the niyamas, which is kind of how we relate to society. And then we've got asana, which is the yoga postures. Pranayama, which is the breath. Actually, I think pranayama comes before asana. Anyway, the asana, so the yoga postures or the stretches, is really not that important on the whole scale of the definition of yoga. So it's really interesting to start to explore the yoga sutras or the yoga philosophy. The niyamas and the yamas are really interesting about how we treat ourselves, how we can. The first one is ahimsa, so that's non-harming. So non-harming thoughts about ourselves. That's probably why a lot of yogis are maybe vegan, because they don't want to harm animals and stuff like that. But I'm just normal. But yeah, so all of that stuff is really super interesting, and it is just this way of life. And the biggest thing for me was like learning in India about the stira and the sukha. So it's the the balance between effort and ease. And it has really stuck with me for a long time, and how if our breath is kind of not comfortable or not balanced with effort and ease, like if the breath is not easy, we shouldn't be there. So we shouldn't kind of be in that place. And it kind of got me through. Last year we went to Nepal and we did the Annapurna circuit, and there was lots of times where we kind of we were pretty lucky to come out of it alive, to be honest. But being at altitude and walking and all that really challenging stuff was like, my breath was my savior. Just breathing through my nose.
So you shared a little bit about your healing journey, going from someone who's super active and highly stressed and possibly distracting in the way of like not dealing with some of the underlying emotional maybe causes. What's that process been like for you to become aware of those underlying issues, and how have you managed to face them and deal with them?
That's a great question, Rick. So I guess the healing, like that whole mental, like all those beliefs that were not serving me were really confronting to start with. Really super confronting. Like, yeah, all the stuff that came up on the course that I was doing, like, you know, how it got to where I've gotten, and being so hard on myself, all this pressure, all the doing. And it's often like a really deep set. And I think we talked about it in your flow talk, Rick, about how, most of it has come from childhood. And just that, dealing with that was the hardest thing. I was lucky enough to have a really beautiful support group, my friends and my family. Probably like voicing them was the hardest part, to actually admit that, you know, I've been believing this for so long. And then when you actually say it out loud, you're like, oh my gosh. So a lot of kind of self-awareness, becoming aware of when those things come up. And like my meditation practice has just been amazing for noticing things, for dealing with kind of not getting attached to the stories. Self-love, like affirmations, all that kind of stuff has been really important for me. Setting intentions to like actually just let go of things. Letting go has been a really big process as well.
So true. I find that a lot of us, I see a lot of people who have not had the courage to sit in that space that you're talking about, that uncomfortable space where it's really confronting, and where they become willing to feel those feelings that, you know, that's underneath everything. So I'm curious to know what led you to the point where the courage or the perceived benefit was going to be greater than the pain. Often it's like suffering and an event where you've... Oh, are you there?
This is freezing up.
Oh, hold on. There you go. Okay, we're back. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay.
Freezing.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So sorry, Rick, what were you saying? How did this froze the whole time?
So what I was saying is a lot of people are unable to sit in that space of discomfort and where you really get confronted with what's going on. And so generally there's a catalyst to get you to the point where the perceived benefit of facing the pain, this confrontation is going to be better than just going on the way that you always have. So what do you think? What was the courage? What was that switch for you where you were like, I've got to do this?
I think for me was like coming back to my whys. I think knowing that I had something wrong with me and it was actually kind of self-inflicted, was like, oh, okay, that's confronting in itself, but what am I believing and what am I thinking and why do I do all these things? Because they've got to come from somewhere. And I actually want to heal myself because I want to have children one day, and I want to have healthy bones, and I want to have I want to have a healthy brain. Everything about it, absent or irregular period is not healthy on your whole body. And I think I did a post yesterday about it, Maria. But yeah, and that was my biggest thing, was like, well, if I'm going to heal, I need to change something. And where are the changes going to be? You know, it is definitely what I ate, how I moved my body, but the beliefs, like my beliefs were so unhealthy. And I think dealing with that is the hardest and most confronting thing, but also the most rewarding.
There
you go.
We
freezing again.
We got what you said.
I got what you said.
We'll edit this.
Yeah.
Man, there was something that sparked. Oh yeah.
That's great. Self-awareness.
Yeah, beautiful.
Just in that moment.
Yeah. So I think, did that answer your question? What, like?
Yeah. What I think what you're saying is that number one is there was physical symptoms which you couldn't ignore. There was chronic, you lost your period, or for the relationships falling apart the whole time, or you know, like all those the kind of like painful things that's going to come and really mess with your construct.
Yeah, exactly. But actually dealing with them, because I think for me it was for too long I was suppressing those emotions and feelings and not wanting to actually face them. But like through everything, through like the brain and the research and the science out there, like we need to actually allow ourselves to feel, but our brains are hardwired to ignore or push away, because that's how our ancestors survived.
Yeah.
That's how we got here, as natural selection. But actually it's also how we get chronically ill.
So for people who are experiencing chronic illness in their body, what do you think are some of the first steps that they can take?
Whoa, it depends what kind, and I'm not aware of all the kind of chronic illnesses. But yeah, like our beliefs and our mind are just the most powerful things. So really diving into, I mean, there's so many books, like, you know, Louise Hay's book has always been really helpful. Like you can actually figure out how or what part of your body, what kind of belief is causing that problem. And I struggled with, okay, well, I don't have any periods and that this means that, but what do I do? And I think that's what a lot of people, you know, you can read that book and you can, and I think I read that book really early on in my journey, but I didn't do anything about it because it's hard. It's way too hard.
Is that the Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life?
Yeah, You Can Heal Your Life.
Yeah, I just recently reread that with Penny bringing that up in one of your chats. And I remember listening to it about, I think 4 or 5 years ago. And yeah, some of it kind of went over my head, but then the heart registered to what she was saying. But in re-listening to it, I'm like, wow, I am living my life like this. But it's just a constant reminder, isn't it? When you listen to these things, it's like, yes, this is what I've intended to live my life towards. And you've just got to keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, reading things over and over, it can be very good as well, just because you pick up different things each time. And that's a really cool reflection as well for you, Maria, like, like maybe your subconscious was soaking it all up back in the days when you read it, but yeah, that's really cool.
So changing our beliefs is probably, it's the miracle of life, of adult life, of the brain's neuroplasticity, its ability to keep reinventing, and it's not completely stuck in our lives. But it is also exceptionally difficult, takes a lot of energy. So how do we do that?
There's lots of things you can do. I know there's like NLP, there's kind of like people that do energy, body work. I think recognizing them is the first part.
Awareness of your actual beliefs.
Like, okay, maybe not being so hard on yourself too, because I think for me, I was like this perfectionist A-type personality. And yeah, you can really get kind of caught up in that belief, but like actually knowing that you have the power to change it, like you have the power, and having patience and consistency is key, because nothing, like you think about, you've had this belief for your whole life, whether it's 20, 40 years, it's not just going to be out of your mind and body like that. So I find intentions really powerful. I find like with the moon, the new moon, I'll set like new positive intentions. The full moon, I'll write down the beliefs, the crap that is just not serving me, and then I'll burn it. I find that really powerful. I find, the affirmations, like the vision boards, really just visualizing things, having that constant reminder of the life that you want. Talking to all your loved ones about it, the hard stuff. What else? Yeah, it's hard, man, and I'm still like, I'm still healing, we all are, but it's just...
Has yoga helped you with that awareness piece?
100%.
And how has it done that? Has it been just through being able to get some space from your programming into the present moment, or?
Definitely just being aware of my mind, of my body, of those things that come up, and slowing down, because we're all living these fast-paced lives that don't allow us to feel. So like slowing down and doing some yoga, even like we spent hours crying on the mat in India because so much was coming up, like all this stuff. It was crazy, but such a beautiful release.
Yeah.
And like you said, we hold so much in our bodies, and even if you don't know what it is or why it is there in your body, I think just being aware can bring up stuff.
Yeah, totally. I think that one of the biggest things that people can take from listening to this is the fact that there is hope. If you find yourself in a space where you've got chronic pain or have lived this way for your known kind of history, there are tools and there are ways that they can change and heal their life.
Definitely. And I think too that the biggest thing for me, and the biggest story I'll never forget from my yoga teacher training was that, I don't know if you've heard about this story. I actually think Eckhart Tolle talks about it right at the start of his The Power of Now book, about how I think it's this man searching for gold. He's looking everywhere else. He's looking in his garden, he's digging in the holes, and he's looking everywhere, but looking everywhere outside of himself, but all of the power, all of the gold is already within you. And that is like the essence of your yoga practice, is stop searching. Like for years I searched, and it did me no good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually all of the power, all of the healing is already within you, all that you need.
Beautiful. And that is the union of the breath, the body, the mind. And when those are, there's magic that happens.
Definitely.
Beautiful. If someone is wanting to start their journey into yoga, what's the best way to start?
Have an open mind. Know that you don't have to, it's not about flexibility. Most people that start yoga and that continue yoga are people that are looking to find something better in their lives. Do you agree, Maria?
Yeah, I mean, when I got into yoga, it was it's something that I was always drawn to, but I never thought I was good enough to do it.
Yeah.
So it was drawn into it, seeking something, deep down to heal. There's always an inner seeker. So seeking for information, seeking for healing practices. And I remember my first class so clearly, and I was like, wow, why haven't I done this before? And I think from years of my own trauma and my own unhealing, I was so dissociated from my body. And that was what started to connect me again with myself, was slowing down, that moving meditation, and just connection. And I thought that was amazing.
Totally, like connection to yourself, but also the other people that you meet that are on their yoga journeys is so special, because you can share notes. Like
we're all in the same boat.
It's an incredible community when you start yoga, but it is really important to just not have any expectations, have an open mind, be easy on yourself, be patient with your body, your breath, and we've all got to start somewhere.
Yeah, a lot can come up in a yoga class.
Yes.
I remember in Shavasana crying, even moving crying. And I'm like, I'm just going to allow this. I'm not going to be embarrassed by it. Just going to allow it to come up. And not being afraid of those emotions as well. They can be confronting, but just go back to your breath, because that is where it's going to help you.
Absolutely. And that's that embodiment of, like, maybe it was just because the first time you've actually like come into your body, like and maybe having that space for yourself, like being a mom, being a teacher, like you give and you give so much. And really, when do you step on a mat by yourself, with yourself, to move your body? But in a way that there's no competition.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the person next to you is doing. It's just you.
Just you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And yeah, totally the breath. Like, I doing this like meditation work where like you actually allow yourself to feel it and then let yourself breathe through it. And it will dissolve.
Exactly.
And it's finding that sensation of allowing yourself to feel is so important.
And that breath will, even back in when you're sitting at your desk, or if you're with your kids and that overwhelm comes over you, that stress, and you're like, oh, I know how to breathe. I learned this in my yoga class, and this is what's going to get me through this moment of like a high stress moment. And I found that is what I've been able to tap back into, along with my meditation.
Yeah, and that's what most of my the people that I teach say is like the way I can cope with life now that I've started practicing yoga is just incredible. Things that you used to get really annoyed with, or that would really get to you, are like, oh well, no, because you've tapped into that parasympathetic nervous system again, and it allows you to like cope and take a step back rather than really reactive all the time.
Brilliant.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Ainslie. It was incredible to hear about your journey, and then just some of the little pointers that you've picked up along the way to help us all enter into our own healing journey. So if people want to connect with you, where can they kind of go?
Yeah, come see me. Flick me a message, or I have a Facebook page called I Am Yoga. I think it's, yeah. And then my Instagram is I Am Yoga NZ. Let me just double check my I Am Yoga is Facebook. So yeah, so you can flick me a message on there.
Great.
And yeah, it's been a real honor to share this all with you, and especially talk to you too about everything. I feel like we've only touched the sides of my journey, but hey, it's a good start, and I hope that that someone, even just one person, can relate and can spark something in your life.
So beautiful. Thank you so much, my friend.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ka kite.
Ka kite.